GC News, Bema Ovia Aquaba. I had the latest and hot news in Kwanamidi, Bremo. Nuti, so we now subscribe ya, or more than say, we subscribe to the channel. The way I say, we click the subscribe button. Now, what barely notification of when sir, you be able to when the first person out, sir, I can a video. I feel we are now, well, like video. My thumbs up, give us a thumbs up. Now, feel. Share my offer for so now when you be here now and someone else ewo Ghana memoano afi yebura and someone about the tour yeponoso yiti a yes answer ya ekosi report ya about to the yiti yeposo yiti.
I'm going off tangent. Okay, honorable.
Yeah.
Say the election is over.
Yeah.
We get up, we hear the results. The NPP has booked it. How would you react?
It will be a nightmare that I doubt will happen because look, we've never had a worse government than this government. And as their own member, Ohininto said a few days ago, that if the NPP wins this election, then it means that the Ghanaian people do not respect themselves. And it means that the NPP can continue to mess us up. It is really not possible for the NPP to win this election. But you see, we are not complacent because if you listen to them, they know they cannot win fair and square. They want to rake. They want to do everything to manipulate, to engage in gerrymandering, to just force themselves. And that is why you hear the likes of the Honorable Bryan Acheampong say that, look, whether you like it or not, by hook or crook, we are going to force ourselves in power. Then you hear the president himself say that, look, I will not hand over to former President Mahama. You see, incendiary statements like that, unconstitutional statements like that, ought to be condemned. And that itself should tell you that they themselves know that they are not winning. And that if it is fair, if we are really counting the votes of the people and not manipulating the numbers, they have absolutely no chance. So all of that, rhetoric makes us to be extra vigilant, and we have assured the Ghanaian people that their votes will count. We are going to make sure that there is absolutely no way that somebody joins the queue for so many hours, casts a ballot, and then somebody sitting somewhere in some unknown place decides to alter the actual results. We are not going to allow that. And we also want the Ghanaian people to know that, you see, don't leave the vigilance to only the polling agents or the NDC. Make sure that you are also keenly following. Fortunately, in this country, if you look at our electoral laws, you are allowed to come back for collation. We do the collation at every polling station publicly. So come back to your polling station, or if you can wait and observe the counting, make sure that the counting, if you look at our electoral laws, after the count, it ought to be posted, published publicly. Make your notes so that when you get home and you are listening to radio or KSM show and it is some other results that you have heard from your polling station, it can be challenged. So we are calling on all Ghanaians because you see, we cannot be everywhere. And even though we are putting in place the best mechanisms to have the most credible, loyal, trusted agents, at the end of the day, once we are all involved, and I keep saying that, look, this election is not about NPP NDC. It's about the soul of our nation. There are so many top NPP people who tell us that, look, we don't recognize our party anymore. This is not what the NPP was formed for. This is not what our party stands for. So you guys, do your best. Let's rescue this country. Then after, we can all think about political ideology. So it is really, a few people in a cabal versus the rest of us
You are
versus the
watching
whole
Juicy
country.
News on
And that
YouTube.
is the mindset
Hot
we must
news
go
all
into this
time.
election with.
You are watching Juicy News
Wontumi
on
says they have
YouTube.
1 billion
Hot
ways.
news all
Can
time.
you?
Tell the NDC people, we have 1 million ways to win 2024 elections. We have 1 million ways to win 2024 elections.
It's all a big joke. It's all a big joke. It's all a big joke. Look, if you have done well, you have not engaged in state capture, you have not looted, you have not disrespected the people, violated the people's rights, why should you be thinking about other ways? Elections is simple. Appealing to the people and asking them to vote for you. When you start saying their votes don't really matter, you have many, many ways. You use hook or crook. You will not hand over. It should tell you that they know they have failed and that it is not really about the people's verdict, but it is ways and means. And you see, African politicians must learn. We have seen in recent times how the youth, the masses, the Gen Zs have risen up. And all the people who were yabbing, oh, won't hand over, won't do this, won't do that, they were running for cover. And they were compelled to immediately implement reforms. See what happened in Kenya, what happened in Nigeria recently, in Bangladesh. And we've seen we've seen the takeovers in other countries.
How do you react to this? So, yeah, it's been happening. We know Kenya, we know this, but Ghanaian youth, they seem to be relaxed, a bit more laid back. How do you react to that? Do you see Ghanaian youth, the Gen Zs in Ghana, being that radical? That no, we won't take this anymore? It's like...
You see, it is the Osajifo, the founder of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, who said that the Ghanaian people are naturally slow to anger, but don't underestimate them. When they strike, they are unstoppable. You see, we forget our history. We are the same people who defeated slavery. The same folks. The same people who fought the colonialists. We were the first country to attain independence in 1957. Other bigger countries like Nigeria and the rest had to learn from us. They had to come steady from us at our feet. We had the International Students Hostel to train the likes of Mugabe, to train Azikiwe and others to follow our footsteps. We are the same people who defeated the British, the likes of Yasantua, and the others. So we take our time to observe. We give you a long rope, but don't take that to be weakness. We forget that even in recent history, in 1979, what happened? No matter what you say about the founder of the NDC and the founder of the Fourth Republic, Jerry John Rawlings, the people rallied behind him. And the people said, look, let the blood flow. We want justice and all of that. We have had enough. It's the same country. So people forget our history and they think that, look, my analysis of the situation is that why the Gen Zs, the young people, the masses are just doing is because they know there's an election around the corner.
So they are counting
on that election
occasion to
exactly that December 7 is not far. Less than 120 days
not to
away.
cut you off.
So that on December 7 they will effect the change that they want.
Okay. Not to cut you off, I think I did a show once and I was talking about why do people seem so silent? I expected some more vigilance, some more anger, and then somebody told me, KSM, what the people are saying is this: listen to what we are not saying. And I thought that was so deep.
Yeah, very deep.
If you think they are silent, all they are saying is that listen to what we are not saying. Yeah. Basically, that's what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. And the Akans have a great saying, "Mekuse kuse wa mitrimo." So they are just quiet. Let's observe. Let's watch them. They think that we are not rational. We are not reasoning. They think that we can be taken for granted when we tell them that stop your extravagance, stop your profligacy, stop your state capture. Why is it that we should be living in a country? People will be dying at Kolebu. 19 people have died. Just 2 million cedis for consumables. And yet, we can spend $58 million on a pit, the world's most expensive pit. You live in a country that has a presidential jet. A president can decide that it's not luxurious enough. As for me, I want to shower in the skies. And I'm not making this up. The defense minister came to parliament in response to my urgent question. When parliament wanted to know the justification for that. He said, oh, it's not luxurious enough. A jet that President Kufuor ordered in 2008 arrived in 2010, bespoke. Professor Mills was happy about it, used it. President Mahama was happy about it, used it. Only President Akufo Addo says that it's not luxurious enough for him. At one time, his spokesperson said he's not comfortable, he can't even stretch. Meanwhile, with all due respect, if we look at the height of the person who ordered the jet, and those who used it before him and didn't complain, all kinds of unacceptable, ridiculous excuses to go and charter jet for 20,000 euros an hour. You remember how many months I kept criticizing the president?
News on YouTube.
Because look,
hot news all time.
as somebody who works
watching
in the
juicy
foreign
news on YouTube.
affairs
Hot news
space,
all time.
in the corridors of international relations, I was picking up the vibes. The diplomats meet you and that. I mean, what's wrong with you guys? You are coming to us to beg for money, to beg for vaccines, to ask for aid. And you are arriving with 20,000 euros an hour luxury jets. Meanwhile, our president, you are coming to beg for support, for aid, for assistance. Flies commercial. They have stuck to their old presidential jets. The Americans have been using their presidential jets since 1991. Some of the jets are more than 20, 30 years old. Yours just arrived, in 2010. It's not even up to 12 years old. And this is what you are doing. And how do you expect our taxpayers? Because it's not our personal resources we are giving you. Money from our taxpayers. When our taxpayers ask us, that do you think that this Ghanaian leader, these Ghanaians, deserve any assistance? What do we tell them? And the president won't stop. He continued. You remember at a point in time, he did what I call the meet me there. So because the criticism was piling up, becoming overwhelming, let me deceive Okudzeto Ablakwa and his gang and the Ghanaian people and pretend that I'm flying commercial. So the first leg, Obiambe Hume, I am going on British Airways or Emirates. And then in transit, he asked the private jet to meet him in transit. We had to intercept that as well and expose that until we became so broke, so bankrupt, and then he had to stop. But the analysis we have done, about $100 million went into that.
$100 million?
$100 million went into those profligate, sybaritic, extravagant, ostentatious, self-aggrandizing travels. Totally needless. And you see, I've been big on accountability, looking at the opportunity cost, all of this wastage, what those monies could be used for. Take the recent expose I put out, where the president's daughters and their business partners are buying spare parts, $34.9 million. Only in Ghana, where the spare parts is more expensive than the ambulance itself. The ambulance spare parts is more expensive than the Auditor General discovers that the cost of the ambulance is $80,000. That itself is another scandal. We paid $145,000 for an ambulance which should have cost us $80,000. And read the Auditor General's report. I'm not making this up. Now, after all of that inflationary pricing, one will have thought that that is bad enough. You've looted us enough. Then you cook another deal. And Ken Ofori Atta, that was his parting gift to us. After we all agitated, said he must leave, he's destroyed lives, financial haircuts, pensioner bondholders have to go and picket at the Ministry of Finance before they can get access to their life savings. You and your economic management team, led by Bawumia, You have wreaked so much
You are
havoc. So
watching
leave.
Juicy News on YouTube.
You won't leave
Hot
quietly.
news all
Your
time.
last action
You are watching Juicy
was to
News
sign
on
this
YouTube.
$34.9
Hot
million
news all time.
ambulance spare parts rot for your nieces and their business partner. I mean, if Ghana, I keep asking, if Ghana is your company, will you do this? Will you run this? Run the company this way? Will you accept that the cost of spare parts should be far more than the cost of the ambulance? $113,000 for the spare parts, when the ambulance costs $80,000. I mean, where will you see this? And I can go on and on and on. It's become one day, one scandal. Omuntijai. No matter what you say.
And before I go on, what is this? What started this fixation for you? Your extraordinary effort to investigate things. What prompted it? I mean, it's like every little corner you go in there and expose something. What prompted this?
So, first of all, it is a conscious effort to live up to my constitutional mandate. Many people forget that under the principles of checks and balances, primarily why we elect members of parliament is for them to go to parliament and serve as a check on the executive. If you look at all those who propounded this governance theory, the likes of Baron de Montesquieu, this whole, three arms of government, checks and balances, one should not be, too strong than the other. It is because, as Lord Acton said, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So, if you just allow the executive, if there is no watchdog, there is no institution really paying attention, scrutinizing, carrying out oversight, they are human. Angels don't come into office. If they see that, look, we have a blank check, then we are all in trouble. So first of all, it is that reawakening that, look, let us pay rapt attention to our constitutional mandate. Then number two, I noticed that, look, I have to become a crusader because we are dealing with a group of people who really are unhinged. They are recalcitrant. They are very intransigent. Then number three, I also noticed that they have some way, somehow, managed to virtually, silence the rest of society. When we were in power, the media was more prying. I recall every morning I'll be called. Hey, you people promised 200 e-blocks. Where are they? Our reporters are on standby. We want to see where they are. Are the contractors on site? We are not seeing that any longer.
Say you intercepted what you came across.
Yes. So I secured documents signed by Ken Ofori Atta, the finance minister, instructing the Control Accountant General to release money to the National Cathedral Secretariat, where you have Dr. Paul Opoku Mensah as the executive secretary, and to release money to Rebade. Rebade are the contractors, a consortium of 3 companies, Rizani, the Eka, Babisoti, and Disimoni. So I saw releases to them. Then I also saw releases to David Ajay, the architect, who engages in a lot of, inflationary pricing. So I said, this country has been scammed. The clergy. And I recall listening to sermons from people like Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams say that, Ghanaians who are criticizing National Cathedral, stop it. We are not using your money. The president has assured us at our first board meeting, the president told us we are not using public funds. So all of you, just shut up. We are just mobilizing our own resources. So even the clergy didn't know that on their blind side, people are being paid, huge withdrawals are going on. Now we know that a whopping 339 million Ghana cedis. Because after intercepting the documents, securing them, we then summoned the finance minister at the vote of censure hearings. And we insisted that you must now give us the full withdrawals that you have made. And all hell broke loose. To our shock, 339, at the time, $58.1 million. No parliamentary approval. That is why, as for this National Cathedral matter, we know that some people are going to go to jail. Because it's very clear. Very clear. When the finance minister, the former finance minister, Ken Ofori Atta, appeared before us, he sought to say that, oh, you know, we were using contingency vote. And as for contingency, we don't really have to come to parliament. Now, contingency stands for emergency. Something unplanned, a happenstance, unforeseen circumstance. National Cathedral, that you have had, you say you had a conversation with your God. You have planned. You set up board of trustees. You announced to the whole country, this is what we are going to do. How can that be contingent, something you didn't foresee? So this is just, you see, when you even catch them, what really annoys me about these folks in the NPP is that when you even catch them naked, pants down, they try to come up with all kinds of ridiculous explanations and excuses. So now, here we are, 339 million cedis. Remember that Kolebu Renal Unit, they needed only 2 million to save lives. 19 people died. 339 million without parliamentary approval. Think about what that money can do. Now, guess what? We decide to go into the breakdown of the 339 million. I took it upon myself to investigate every single item. That is when a whole new can of worm was opened. So I discovered that a gentleman called Kari Summers was given $6 million to raise funds for Ghana. He has not been able to raise any money. Now, what happens in the industry of fundraising, and you know very well, is that when you raise the funds, then you are giving a commission.
Yeah.
It is only in Ghana, under the Akufo Addo Bawumia administration, that
So
they
you
gave
paid upfront to raise funds?
$6 million. I tracked him all the way to the United States of America. I went undercover and appeared in Springfield, Missouri, where and all the claims he had made, the documents they brought to Parliament that, oh, this is a top fundraiser who, has, the Nehemiah group and all of that. The pictures they brought us. When I went there, it was all a scam. He was in some ramshackled warehouse selling coffee. Scammer. And yet they gave him $6 million. Then I also discovered that another payment of 2.6 million Ghana cedis to a company called JNS Talent Center Limited. I said, I know all the companies associated with this project. David Ajay and Associates, the architects, Rebade, the contractors. Who is JNS? Let me look into it. Holy Moses. I discovered that, so Reverend Victor Kusibwating, secretary to the board of trustees, he has a second identity as Kwabena Gyamfi, and he is the director at JNS. So virtually paying himself. That is what, so you hear people say, but Okudzeto Ablakwa, what does he have with this pastor? What is it, something personal? It's not a personal. I was only carrying out parliamentary oversight, doing my constitutional work. I wanted to know the 339 million. Why is it that we have spent so much money and all we see is a hole, a pit? So clearly, the money didn't go into construction. A diligent member of parliament must find out. So where did the money go? That is what took me on this search, this voyage for truth, for accountability. So I discovered Kari Summers, $6 million. Then I discovered Victor Kusibwating, who is paying himself, Kwabena Gyamfi, 2.6 million. And he opened a whole can of worms. Then I discovered that, so he was not expecting this day to come, where we will know that even though he was appointed as Reverend Victor Kusibwating, he has a second identity. Don't be deceived, it's not a nickname. For that identity, he has a different date of birth, 2 years apart. When he's operating as Victor Kusibwating, he has a different mother. He has a different date of birth. He says he was born 7 September 1971. He has a whole set of companies registered under that identity. When he's operating as Kwabena Gyamfi, he has another mother, different mother. The only person I know in the world to be born by 2 different mothers. He has a different date of birth. This time, 30th December 1969, not 7 September 1971. 2 years apart. I can speak to these matters boldly because he took me to court and he has lost, not once, not twice. Indeed, the Human Rights Court has declared his conduct criminal. that he shouldn't be working freely. So these are matters that have been determined. The judiciary of our country, they have looked at the evidence that I gathered, and they have ruled in my favor that what I put out was not malicious, is the truth. Will you believe that he managed to even obtain a diplomatic passport in another identity, Kwabena Gyamfi? I summoned the Foreign Affairs Minister to Parliament, and she confirmed it, that yes, at the time they issued the passport, they didn't know that he is Victor Kusibwate. Meanwhile, this is a country that has spent billions on national ID. Even at the NIA, the Ghana card he has is Kwabena Gyamfi. You go to DVLA, he has a driver's license, Victor Kusibwate. As NIT, he is Victor Kusibwate. Within the Electoral Commission database, he has 2 cards as Victor Kusibwate and Kwabena Gyamfi. Only God knows if he votes twice or not. Incredible. And these are people supposed to be building a holy temple for God. That is why I am not surprised that Pastor Otabil had to resign, Bishop Dake Ward-Mills had to resign, Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams had to resign, Reverend Isul Adaba had to resign. And if you read their resignation letters, very damning. Bishop Dake Ward-Mills said that, look, I have built great churches, magnificent churches for far less. I cannot understand why $58 million and all we see is a pit. It's in Bishop Dak's resignation letter. And Bishop Dak can say that. We have seen all his mighty buildings all over. Go to the mountains. Mampong. Yeah. Hey! I mean, and a cabo, what that man of God built. I mean, incredible. Beautiful edifices, imposing.
It's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. So if this man of God tells you that, now $58 million, and all we see is a pit. No, I will not allow you to soil my reputation. I'm leaving. Then I decided to do an RTI request, a right to information request, to the Public Procurement Authority. Under Ghanaian law, when you are going to use public funds for procurement, goods and services, you must go through the procurement process. The PPA must know about it. Will you believe PPA responded and said, hey, Honorable, we beg you, don't drag us into this. We don't know about this.
We don't have to be.
We don't have no idea. We don't. Can you believe that? Lawlessness. So that is how come 58.1 million, and this 58.1 million is only taxes. So recently I asked the tourism minister in Parliament to give us a breakdown of other donations that came in, over $3 million, and yet that's what we see, a pit. Now you know what even irks me the most? It's not only the money we have lost, but the properties that have been destroyed. If you read Bishop Dak's resignation letter, he said at their first board meeting, President Akufo Addo told them that as for location and architect, they should stay away from those matters. He has an architect already. And then he has his location. He has decided where it must be. And everything in the way must be removed for his cathedral to be put up where he has decided. A country that has so much space, free space. And for many decades, we've been talking about decongesting the central business district. Look, when there's a program at international conference, even where to park, when there's a program at State House, then you come to add to that melee, and in the process, look at the demolitions. I'll give you the list. Scholarship Secretariat, demolished. Passport Head Office, demolished. Judges' bungalows, newly built judges' bungalows, demolished. In the process, an appeal court judge resigned. He said, look, why? He even asked for a few days. His wife, Justice Said, who had been awarded by the Ghana Bar Association as the most incorruptible judge a few months earlier, he said, look, my wife has just come out of surgery. Give me some time. He said, no, hey, God says he must come and live in Accra under Akufo Addo's authority. So leave. He resigned out of protest. And Ghana lost such an upright judge in the process. The Judicial Training Institute, where we've been training, doing capacity building for judges of the Commonwealth, demolished. Bungalows belonging to Shraj were demolished. As I speak to you now, Shraj is having to spend money to rent for its deputy commissioners because those bungalows were demolished. Look at the financial loss. The judges, they had to go and rent buildings for them. Look at the financial loss. And I'm not done with the list. The Malian ambassador's residence was demolished. Can you believe that? Even diplomatic enclaves were not spared. Then you have private persons. Comsys IT firm, their headquarters was demolished. The Waterstone Realty apartment complex, also demolished. They are in court demanding compensation of $5 million. So by the time you add the costs of compensating all of these people whose properties have been demolished, recently the Malians informed me that they have showed them some land at Airport Residential, and you know the cost of land at Airport Residential. Should all of these things have come about? A country that has an infrastructure deficit. That is why at the NDC manifesto launch, I submitted forcefully that the two parties are not the same. This thing that people, this refrain all over the place, oh, Yanja or Munyana are the same, they say, we are not the same. This has never happened. I dare say that even under previous NPP leaders, this could never have happened. I can't believe how any Ghanaian leader would do this. This recklessness, this impunity. I mean, of all the land, even if you think the National Cathedral is a priority. And you see, we have been asking in Parliament, let's even see the project justification, the feasibility that you did. This business that suddenly Christians will stop going to Israel, where Jesus walked, and will rather come to Accra. So the traffic will change.
Yeah. There's
And
actually
then-
going to be a restaurant that will feature foods from the Old Testament or something like that.
And I'm glad you talk about this restaurant. You will be shocked to hear, after David Ajay had been paid 32 million cedis, then somebody discovered, I hear it was this same Karisames guy, who said that, oh, after looking at the design, there's no restaurant attached. So attach a restaurant. Do you know how much Ghana paid David Ajay for designing the restaurant? $5.8 million. Can you believe that? $5.8 million. $5.8 million. That is what Ghana paid. I'm not making this up. I'm always going all over the place with my documents. This is signed by Ken Ofori Atta, 6 July 2021. Submission of invoice for payment, National Cathedral of Ghana. Please refer to your letter number SCRDE3296/02, dated 27 April 2021, requesting the release of $5,817,769 to pay consultancy fees in respect of the variation orders for the inclusion of a 300-seater restaurant. $5.8 million. The actual restaurant, the building, how much will it cost? The actual building, how much will it cost? Design, Peo, you have been paid over 32 million already. And then they say that, oh, this is your design that you've done. There's no restaurant. We want to serve manna from Israel and all of that. I mean, you wonder what was going on. And then we pay $5.8 million.
You're waiting for Winnie reporter about the tour you so because GC News so and our Heno. So we can subscribe say we subscribe to the channel. Now so what like video to give us a thumbs up. Now share my offer so now we may be here now and someone also essentially had the latest and hot news in Kwana the Prempeh. Also get me Aremeyaw Anas and somewhere now will comment box in my next video.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.